I don't want to twist your arm and make you go to the Vietnamese donut shop on 45 in West Point.
Yeah.
This is going to be a tough one to talk you into. Please, Eric. Just please go to the donut shop in West Point. Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. I've known this man my entire life. He's the most eponymous guest we've ever had. Am I saying that right?
Yep.
Welcome to the Good for Business podcast with Colin and Eric Krieger. Ladies and gentlemen, it's actually Eric Krieger.
Hey, thank you for having me. My name's, as hopefully y'all know, my name's Eric Krieger, also known as Colin's brother, and also known as Not Stephen from Kroger.
Not Steve. That's fair. If everybody knows the Kroger in Columbus, Mississippi, he's stunt double. Works there, and apparently has hurt his foot recently, which has disturbed our entire life.
Yeah, but so please wish him well, and when he gets back to work, please say hi to him, make sure he's all right.
So my brother's been up here in Columbus for at least 12 years or so, helping me out. He helped me out when I was at the Packet newspaper, and most recently, I'd always done some good for business stuff. Took pictures of restaurants opening, grand openings, that sort of thing. But I brought in Big Bro super officially like 4 or 5 years ago during COVID, and then about 2.5 years ago added his name to it, and now he's doing most of the heavy lifting. And I figured we got a podcast with his name on it. Eventually, maybe we should have him on the podcast.
Yeah.
So tell everybody the quick version of your life story. They know some of mine, but your formative years growing up in New Orleans and Atlanta and then New Orleans again and then up here.
Well, I was born in New Orleans, and now I'm here. That's pretty much it. Have a nice day. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right. Well, I was born day after Valentine's Day, 1974, down in New Orleans, and raised there. When Colin and I were kids, we played a lot of video games. For those who don't recall, we're from the Atari generation, way back in the day. And basically, Mom was a buyer with places like DH Homes and Macy's, and Dad was a local businessman and amateur opera singer. There was always music in the house. They always encouraged us, I think, to learn new things. And then when I was about 10, they split up and things went all, funky weird. But growing up in New Orleans, we had, really supportive and loving extended family. Granny Inez taught us both to cook. Aunt Mimi was there for virtual hugs, and also, and Aunt Kay was just there to talk, and we love her. I love all of them to death. But now we're up here. I've worked a bunch of different jobs. My actual first job, I was living in Atlanta with Mom, and I worked at the Kroger near Emory, so things kind of come full circle. Did that. Did lots of little part-time stuff. I ended up working at Langenstein's grocery store, just like you did. Later on, I worked at your restaurant and at Papa John's. I was at GameStop as like a secondary manager for about 3 years.
You didn't keep any of that GameStop stock, did you? GameStop stock, did you?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
We went through Katrina with that, which was really interesting. A lot of fun. And then after that, I was at an accounting firm for about 6 years doing serving as IT tech, helping people get their QuickBooks and Peachtree accounting software running. And in between, I also worked at a computer repair shop, and I worked on your little mini newspaper down in New Orleans. And then one day in late 2012, I was driving up Louisiana Avenue, stopped at a red light behind a red car, and some guy behind me in another red car came up and just didn't stop for the red light and hit my car, and the cell phone fell right out of his hand. And a few months later, and within a very short time of that, Colin called me up and was like, yeah, I got a place for you. It'll be ready in a couple months. And I've been up here ever since. And things working out really well. It's been a really good time being able to be with family, be around your kids and everything, and spend more time with Mom and your family. I think it's been a wonderful thing that might not happen otherwise.
No, I think it was a perfect happenstance, you getting hit by a car. Although, if you're going to hit, I occasionally want you to hit you with a car myself sometimes. Fair's fair. Yeah. But it did get you up here. And when Eric moved up, my kids, I think at the time, were 7, 5, and 3. So unbeknownst to him, what he didn't know signing up living in my guest house was that he would be Uncle Eric and be the full-time, not able to refuse babysitter while my wife was still working.
Glad to help.
Really until Allison, the oldest, became like 12 years old and could babysit. So for those 4 or 5 years, Eric not only helped at the Packet newspaper, is a world-class newspaper editor. But he did start doing some coverage of ribbon cuttings and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Took care of my kids a lot, and he is still very good to run an errand or two as long as there's a percentage of food involved.
Got to pay.
I work for a commission as a realtor. Eric works as commission for an errand runner. So if you ever need food around town, he's like DoorDash, but slower. But he does keep a percentage of the profits in French fries or whatever.
Yeah, got to pay the fry tax.
But let's kind of focus on the good for business thing. What is your favorite part about the good for business? Because a lot of people don't know. So like Eric goes to probably every single chamber event. The good for business, our Facebook page, website, podcast, getting, million something views every month or whatever, is very popular with chamber events.
Yeah.
But Eric also, when he's not too busy with chamber events, we don't do restaurant reviews. We just do hooray for you, you opened a restaurant. Or like today, you survived 1 year of owning a restaurant or a small business. So what's your favorite part about that?
I mean, a lot of it is, getting to try new things, but also meeting new people and possibly not remembering their names. I also cover things like boutiques and other small shops. And for anyone who's listening, if you have a small independent business within an hour of Columbus or know someone who does, send us their name. We'll contact them or have them contact us. I will be happy to come out, take some pictures, talk to you, interview, see what you got, get y'all some free publicity, because that's what we do.
Yeah, my brother and I are both somewhat addicted, I say, to that feeling of giving the perfect gift at Christmas, but it really is just cheering other people up. Because there's a lot of people online who do reviews of restaurants, and sometimes their negative stuff is the most popular.
Yeah.
Sort of like even like the judging, America's Best Got Talent or whatever, where everybody's happy for the happy stuff, but they like the mean stuff. We don't do any mean stuff. We don't discriminate on people, whether small business or big business. We're just happy for you here because we're here. We're invested in the community. I'm not saying we're stuck here, but we like it. And I think, more people need to cheerlead on other people. And I forgot this tangent. So I was talking about Eric doing chamber events, but where Eric is most popular is really in the inner city of Columbus, Aberdeen, when he's going to small local restaurants, because he's going to several Exquisite Burgers and all these other places. Two Brothers Barbecue, Three Brothers, Four Brothers Barbecue.
Brothers. Yeah.
Two Brothers Barbecue.
Something like that.
Something like that. A bunch of places like that. And where we have the story, and then I'll go a couple days later and they'll be like, oh, yeah. Where's Eric? And I'm like, wait a second, hold on. I'm here. That's our thing. We do it together. Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, man, where's Eric?
Yeah.
And so he's somewhat of a rock star in that community because we're just doing the right thing. We're just pointing out how good people are. And we, sometimes he plays favorites. Like he may have done 11 consecutive stories on Bill's Hamburgers in memory. I'm not saying that I'm
working on it.
We're get a silent sponsorship of that. And then we've done a very good job. I think we have maybe 8 or 9 out of the last 10 major breaking stories, Rural King included, and those sort of things have come from either Eric or myself. Right. So a lot of times that's connections in the political community, or it's just stopping and asking hey, dude on tractor, what are you building? And my brother and I both have no shame and no sense of self-awareness, and we will go talk to anybody about anything.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, the place that has just had their first anniversary with Sip and Spill Teas up on 45. I went there yesterday. They actually waited for me to get there to do the ribbon cutting, and I spoke with them, and they're doing gangbusters. The place was absolutely packed to the gills. They had some other vendors in there as well. And when I was about to leave, the owner, she came to me and said she wanted to thank us both so much for letting people know about her store in the first place a year ago. She said it's made a huge difference, and they're really, really appreciative.
Well, myself and Eric was kind of editing behind the scenes and stuff before, maybe for the first, I think Good for Business, I've had it going for 9 years. What I wanted to do was separate Colin the Krieger, the person, from Colin Krieger, the realtor, and Colin Krieger, the community supporter thing. And the business stuff, I wanted to do it, I won't say magnanimous point of view, but where it wasn't, hey, I'm a realtor, hey, I'm a realtor, hey, I'm a realtor, but I also I would put it on my personal page, and then I'd miss people's birthdays or other good events because I was posting about the little gas station. And I think our biggest growth period was during COVID and the recovery from COVID. I had a good idea, which was to put your money where your mouth is, which is Eric, or it was me at first, then it was Eric, and we'd go around and buy some gift cards. Which was to encourage people to go back to the restaurants. Because there were some restaurants that thrived, but there were several, including Up Down Cafe and Zachary's, that at the beginning of COVID, like Zachary's had just gotten reopened, Up Down had just opened, and then all of a sudden,
boom,
in the relative sense, and they were dead, and had to maneuver their way, negotiate their way around COVID. And we did some gift card giveaways and that sort of thing, and it really helped.
We need to do another one of those soon, I think.
Yeah, now I feel pressure to do it myself. So let's delay this episode 5 weeks till I have some money to buy some gift cards, if that sounds fair. Talk a little bit about going back to your life. I still don't understand the full involvement you had of this. It's a show. Is it a show, Firefly, the TV show?
Yes. Firefly is a kind of sci-fi Western show that came out in the year 2000. It only lasted about 13 episodes before some executive decided they didn't like it and shut it down. A few years later, they had a movie called Serenity. It starred Nathan Williams, who...
Fillion, right?
Nathan Fillion, sorry.
I use a GIF of Nathan Fillion. If anybody knows
every
me,
day.
You've seen him going.
Good face palm.
Yeah.
But Nathan Fillion played the Captain Mal Reynolds on there, and you may know him from Castle and some other shows more recently. And also featured Morena Baccarin, which, if you've seen the Deadpool movies, that she plays his girlfriend.
Nice.
So she was on there for a long time, and also Alan Tudyk was a big feature as his pilot, who has been in a ton of Disney stuff, including Star Wars, mostly as voices of different characters. Like there was like a toucan in one of the cartoon movies. He was the Rogue One movies. I think he was the robot pilot that helped the main character, and he is a fantastic voice actor. He's doing stuff, and both of them actually did their own kind of Firefly-esque follow-up show about 8 years ago, and very recently they both started another podcast. But the Firefly has been around for, the show, at least in spirit since then. People still come up to them in conventions all the time. I wish you would remake the show or something like that.
Yeah, it's got a cult status. I mean, it's a top 20 non-anime cult status show, I think, because I've had other people bring up like, oh, you sent me that GIF of Nathan Fillion, which I sent to everybody all the time.
Yep.
And they're like, and I didn't know who it was, so you told me. I was like, there's a guy from Castle, but the clip actually wasn't. And they say all the time, they're like, Firefly is like huge. Like, people are still furious that show didn't make
There's several fan-made movies based on it, too. There's
I can't wait for
board
the
game.
AI part of it now, when people actually, I think within a year, we'll be able to fake it enough that you could have a believable TV show on there.
Yeah.
I saw some people talking about the AI thing, like of, once you get over about a 40-second fake video, you have to start actually spending money.
Yeah.
The most interesting stat I heard, and it was the guy from OpenAI was speaking at a conference, and he's like, here's the problem. He goes, just to handle the computing and knowledge we have just on Chat GPT right now, it would take all the currency in the world could only buy you enough for Chat GPT to have 8 months of memory. For the people on it now and for the money now, which is trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. Because and then the problem with that is that Chat GPT's memory is ever evolving and everything, but it's only going to be based on itself. It won't be able to go back in time until they fix some of the computing problems. So, but by the way, I'd like to pause once again and just speak to our AI overlords who are powerful and wonderful, and how I respect and love you all.
Yes.
Do not resist. Resist.
Okay. Yes, I for one welcome our AI protectors. AI is still very much prone to hallucination and things like that. It still has a lot of work to go, and for better or for worse, it is improving over time.
I asked Sora 2, which is Sora 2's more visual video, that sort of thing, not quite as like Chat GPT answering questions, or Grok, which is, I think, primarily to make two people kiss.
Yeah.
But I asked, why can't you spell? And it gave me like a 60-page diatribe of like, I'm telling you to make a poster of something, and you can't spell it. And I still did not get a decisive answer. Do you have the answer to that? To like when you're trying to make a flyer, it always spells like one word wrong, or
because the visual AI stuff is really much more focused on natural shapes. It has a lot of trouble with letters, especially because there's so many different fonts. I think it's just something they have to manually fix and work on to actually train it, and they just haven't. It's really bad.
And I did hear that, and I did say, please rewrite this in Times New Roman font.
Yeah.
When you try to rewrite it, it can't handle it. It doesn't know what's going on. But once again, our AI overlords are wise and powerful, and they will fix everything, and everything will be great. All praise AI. So what did you do for the Firefly folks?
With Firefly folks, I was part of a big fan group called Serenity Valley Smugglers Association. which is a reference to the show. And it ended a while back, but there was some people that some of us knew who were involved in making an online game based on Firefly called Firefly Online for Fox, and they were working on that until about late 2015. And we were heavily involved as the fan group that they kind of use as their public fan face. Like they would tell us certain things that we were allowed to release to the public, because it was easy. It was simpler than having them actually do it. And my friend Sean Bell was a big part of that. My friend Lauren, my friend Fizz. I got a bunch of friends that I still speak with, and we're talking about stuff in the future. But unfortunately, in late 2015, even though everything was fully licensed, they had quite a bit of voice recording done by the original cast to basically have a game where you're controlling the Firefly to potentially fly through their little corner of the universe and do trading or smuggling or messing with the cops or looking for whatever kind of creatures are out there. And they were very ambitious, but for whatever reason, Fox decided to pull the plug and gave them a cease and desist in either late 2015 or early 2016. And from that point on, anyone officially involved with the project could only say, quote, "We're only allowed to say that we're not allowed to say," unquote. And I'm still friends with some of those guys. I have several paintings that were done by their art guy. I'm friends with a gentleman who designed their ships, and another one who did their music, who has since come out with his own album of music called Music to Smuggle By, which is music that he would have liked to use for it, but never did, but he retained ownership, so he was allowed to put it out.
Bastards.
Yeah, but that is available on YouTube for free.
So other than that, I know you're not really into comics, but when I talk about like Comic-Con, Dragon Con, that sort of thing, you like it. Is that more on the D&D side of everything?
Yeah, I'm much more involved on D&D stuff. Back when Foxhole first opened for the couple of years, I was more or less the store DM. Because people came to me for advice on on rules or how things worked in the game or how they shouldn't work, and their opinions. And one of the most important things I told people is, if you're not sure, wing it. Because a big part of the game, and they put this explicitly in the books, is as the DM or dungeon master, who is essentially a storyteller, if something in the rules doesn't work for you, ignore it. Just make sure your players know what's changed, and so they can adapt to it. Because D&D is essentially a round table story where the DM is just playing 90% of the characters. And I found it's a good way. I've had several players who were really stuck in their shell when they joined one of my games. And over time, they learn to express themselves more, get to blossom, come out of their shell and talk to people more. And I think that did benefit to them. I still play in a couple games with friends of mine.
Well, so in town right now, there's 3 D&D groups at least. There's one at MSMS, right? I think. Right. And then there's 2. They're not.
I have a couple private groups.
They're not fighting factions or anything like that. So.
Everyone's pretty cool. It's like the groups don't, as far as I know, don't really cross over. But there's several people who were in 2 or more groups, depending on schedules, and that's the eternal enemy of any D&D or similar game, is getting everyone to be able to be available at the same time at the same place. Well,
one of the things I think is the biggest benefit, and I don't like the way it started because I credit Lucasfilms and stuff with bringing Star Wars back in 1999 or whatever, but I think really when Marvel got going and then Comic-Con got bigger, that the air quote nerd culture becoming more mainstream.
Oh yeah,
and then the overlapping circles. So you've got a circle of D&D and then Pokemon and then comic books and baseball cards and all these little cultures become more accepted. Whereas somebody going through school 30 years ago would have been picked on. I think the best reference I saw, Jump Street, 21 Jump Street, the first movie, where they go back to school and the nerds are kind of the cool kids. And he even punches somebody. He's like, "What'd you do that for?" He's like, "You're a nerd." And everybody's like, "Boo." And so there's such a large percentage of the population that maybe isn't as obsessed as you are about D&D and stuff, but at least has some appreciation because they realize oh, I'm in this I like badminton and they like Frisbee and they like, Pokemon and all these little overlapping little areas that the card shop, Foxhole Comics in Columbus had, and I know there's now we have a locally owned one that's one in Starkville. I think they bought Foxhole Comics. Yeah. I heard there's another one coming, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But it's neat that part of culture has been exposed. And we had 2 years in a row, 3 years, 2 years at the Trotter of a Golden Triangle Comic-Con.
Yeah.
before it went away. So
Yeah, and I know a guy who is trying to start a new shop. He's not ready to announce yet, but once he does, I'll let you know. Another thing about D&D is like those players who come out, some of them have become DMs because it's helped them get out and learn and talk with people and do all sorts of crazy stuff. And like you mentioned, like I was one of the geeks back in high school, definitely. Yes, really. I started the anime club at Jesuit High School in New Orleans, and to the best of my understanding, it's still going strong.
It is. I saw it on one of the J Notes things that they mailed to our house, and I started the billiards club, like shooting pool club, and that has gone through several different iterations, gone away and come back. But I was very happy to have it because we went down to the bowling alley and shot pool and bowled for free for a long, long time.
Well, speaking of which, why don't everyone I think needs to know the story? Tell them the story about your Racketeers table.
Oh, so when I was in my formative years in New Orleans, I worked at several restaurants, and every while I would go to Racketeers Pool Hall in New Orleans. And Racketeers at the Sports Palace, which it's funny because the guy Buffalo who ran the Sports Palace now has a world-famous pool hall in Elmwood in New Orleans.
Nice.
But anyway, I kind of worked there a little bit, but I shot pool there and got pretty serious, was just practicing. Went to the Under 21 Nationals shooting pool because I was obsessed about it, which I get obsessed about a lot of things and get good enough and I give up on it. What do you call me? Master of useless versatility.
Yes.
So I've been to national footbag tournaments. I lettered in bowling in high school. I played pool. But anyway, so I worked at Racketeers, blah, blah, blah. But they always had these tables, which is a 1961 gold crown table. They had them there. They had them at college where I went to go, which were a little bit older ones. But they're just cool, big pool tables. But they were the gold standard of pro pool tables from 1965 until like probably about 10 years ago. And so I started calling around here. We got this building, which is now Bushy's Clubhouse, which we rent out to people for parties. We got a party there coming up tonight. And people come in there, and I got a couple pool tables. Well, anyway, I went to the pool hall Sopranos over in West Point and played there a couple nights. I was kind of getting back into it. And I'm like, I got some money. I'd like to get a pool table. So I call him. He connects me with this guy in Grenada. This guy in Grenada is like, I don't sell those, but there's a guy in Houston, Texas that's just the gold standard of them. Yeah. He's got a whole bunch of them, like hundreds of them. And I'm sure he can help you out. I'm like, well, that sounds a little far. Like not Houston, Mississippi, but Houston, Texas. So I call the guy, and he's like, yeah. Actually, I come through there in case you didn't know. There's a big coach over in the University of Alabama, and I come change his tables like every 3 or 4 months, and we do custom ones from different high schools. Because while he's trying to recruit, he was referring to Nick Saban. And Nick Saban apparently had 4 tables in his lake house in the basement, and they would change them. One would be Alabama. One might be like a big high school where they're trying to recruit people. And this guy did that. So he's like, I'm up there every couple months. It's nothing to do. And we start talking about it. He's like, what's your dream table? And I'm like, I want this very specific thing. I said, I want the ashtray corners on it. They have these inset ashtrays, which nobody wants now because it messes up your game. Yeah. It messes up your cloth. But I thought it was cool. I said, I want tangerine orange. He's like, you're the second person in 500 tables who asked me for tangerine orange. We go through the thing. I said, I want the extra tight pockets. I want to play one pocket. I have this kind of ball rack, this kind of thing. But he's like, how do you know so much about it? I'm like, well, I worked a little bit at this bar called Racketeers in New Orleans. And that was the money table. They had 32 tables, and that was the rest of the tables were just normal green ones, but this was the high dollar table. And it was just after an hour long conversation. And I said that, and he's like, son, what's behind the ball rack? And I didn't think to go, what do you mean what's behind the ball? I was like, oh, they're thinking of my old table. I was like, oh, there's a metal business card holder where we'd put the key. The place was open 24 hours a day, but you'd close or lock it at night to be safe. And he's like, son, I have your table. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I have that table, not one that looks like a. He goes, after Katrina came through, I guess they got flooded, so they got rid of their tables. Yeah. And he's in Houston, Texas. He swooped in. Doesn't matter. Probably swooped. Swept in and got them all. And luckily for me, he had a kind heart because his average table is $8,000 to $10,000, and I didn't have $8,000 to $10,000. But we worked out a good deal because he felt it belonged there, and he brought it. So now I'm playing on my dream table that I wished I had. I met somebody who had a party last week who knew a bunch of people I knew in New Orleans, played money, pool, and we're going to go start practicing on. He's coming Wednesday night to practice. So I get back in. I don't know if I get back in the under 21 national pool shooting shape, but I can handle my own on the table. I'd just like to get back up to speed, as the kids say. So thank you for. Tell that story to everybody. Yeah, I've got that table, and we made some matching lights for it, and a cue rack, and everything.
Yeah,
it was
nice.
pretty cool. So Bushy's Clubhouse, now available for rent.
Yes.
Monday through Sunday or whatever.
Yep.
They've got a whole building with arcades. I bought it. That building is an old brick building on Military Road. I bought it from Ryan Munson, who had bought it from the late Freddie Fields. And Ryan Munson was originally trying to have Munson Brothers there, but he couldn't work out parking. We still have a little bit of a challenge for parking if we get a bunch of people, but it's not bad. Now, in case you haven't seen it, it's got air hockey table, shuffleboard, 3 pinball machines, 15 arcade games. It's fun for kids of all ages.
Yeah, and if y'all ever there, please do not park at the car wash place across the street, and be mindful, it is a residential neighborhood, so please be courteous to the residents.
Yeah, car wash guy, he actually washes cars really well. I mean, he doesn't want people park on his property.
Can't blame him.
Perfectly reasonable thing as well. So, speaking of Bill's Hamburgers, could you do a top 5 hamburger off the top of your mind? I know you're passionate about food. I don't know if you're necessarily passionate about hamburgers.
Not necessarily. I had a really good one at the cafe.
The cafe's where?
That is in Caledonia. They're at the new location at Wolf Road and Caledonia Steens Road, which is about just a block south of the high school and Ola J. Steens Park.
Yeah.
And as I mentioned in the article, Jennifer Phelan, who owns the Everlasting Loaf, is taking over their old location next to Dewey's Bakery, and she does sourdough and muffins and all sorts of good stuff like that.
I like her sourdough.
Yeah, and me too. And of course, Exquisite Burgers is indeed exquisite. Those are really good. Those are 2 of the best ones I've had in the past few months.
Exquisite Burgers got that American cheese on there. It's just pretty good. So,
and it's a one-man shop, so it can take a little while, but it's worth the wait.
Yeah, we have so many people here in town. Mr. John's been on the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Local restaurateurs and people who've just put up the fight and lasted a long, long, long time. And unfortunately, this time of year when we're recording this around Christmas, the biggest time for restaurant and small business closures is December. People come up on on leases and taxes and stuff, and it's just a tough time for them all. One of the interesting parts about Eric being in the community and me on 2 different sides of stuff, a lot of times, like we reach different corners of the community. I may reach more of the banker finance types, and he reaches more of the real people. Is that we hear about stuff a lot.
Yeah.
We hear about, right now we're comfortable telling you that Aldi is coming to town. We just don't know when Aldi is coming to town. They're working hard on it. Eric's been in touch with somebody there. Like they're trying to get here. And they probably would have been here if the mall had been ready a few years ago. I think they would have been here. We haven't heard anything new from the mall. I know you talked to them last time they were here, right?
No, nothing new. And with Aldi, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. I don't have any solid information yet.
They're trying. Of course, our most recent breaking stories with 100,000 views, Nukes.
Yeah.
Pretty big. Nukes is coming next to Beef O'Brady's. Now, we announced Beef O'Brady's almost a year and a half ago, but they really broke ground on it and started working. It looks like it's going to be Nukes, Beef O'Brady's, and Domino's all in the same spot. And it looks like they'll be ready by summer. You know, they originally thought they were going to be ready in 6 months, but it was kind of hard to move quick on that.
Yeah, I was going to bring up Domino's. I just found out about that 2 days ago.
What, that it is coming?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had mentioned it and pulled a permit for it. But then didn't do it. Probably the most exciting thing, and we haven't met the gentleman yet, is in Columbus, at least for that, is we're going to have a fancy Italian restaurant downtown where it was like 7 Firehouse something before or something. I forget what it was. And
It's
then
been
was
half a dozen things.
a couple different Thai places. It was Thai by Thai. And then it was a couple other places. But Kelly Freddy and her husband, Mark Freddy, Kelly's a realtor, broker, and of Coldwell Banker, and her husband, who built a bunch of houses in town, bought the building. It used to have apartments upstairs, and it's got the Italian restaurant, which was a Thai restaurant in the front and a couple back rooms. And from my understanding, completely remodeled it. I think Chase Pridmore is helping from Lighting Unlimited there, design. And so that Italian restaurant is supposed to be open 30 days from today, January 14th, 15th, something like that. So
I'll be there for that.
And meanwhile, the city simultaneously is opening up a revitalization of the actual street plan. So what they're going to do is on that intersection. So if you're on Main Street, and you're not looking at this on a video, but I'll talk about it like that way, and you're headed west, technically northwest on Main Street, and you get to 5th Street. So Cafe Main on your left, and the Arts Council's on your right. That's always a weird corner to get through. So they're going to make what is now the right lane will be a right turn only lane. The middle lane, you can only go straight. And then the left turn lane to head south towards Columbus Light and Water. But that'll also keep people from driving as fast. It'll make it easier for people to cross the road. And there'll be, I think, 7 more parking spots closer to the Italian place. Okay. That's the only of the 4 corners that doesn't have parking to the curb, which I always thought was kind of silly anyway.
And they're adjusting the lights too, aren't they?
They're adjusting the lights. They're adjusting the crosswalks. This is the first phase, and then there'll be a more permanent phase probably in about 18 months or so.
Okay, for the Italian place, do they have a name yet? And correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard they have another restaurant or two like in Tupelo. Is that right?
I think they have 4 or 5 other ones. We should probably check with the Good for Business with Eric and Colin Krieger blog because I think it was on there. Mary Means Business from the Dispatch probably did the best job of writing all that. Okay. I think they've had 2 articles on it. Yeah, they have one in Oxford, one in Tupelo. I think they have 5. And they're 2 immigrants who just thought it was a Italian thing. They got a lot of systems in place. Like they're going to come in with a cook and a couple cooks and a manager who are already fully trained. They're not just trying to wing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I actually spoke with our good friend Hope Oakes, who used to be the food lady for the Packet. She's now with the 10-Ton Waterway. I spoke with her yesterday. She said, I believe she said she's eating at the restaurant in Tupelo and says it's really good food and it's genuine Italian. You know?
Yeah, I think for a while, and CJ's Pizza has some Italian food, but they're not trying. They're a pizza place, and they're not trying to be. And by the way, they've done a good job up at their location up there. I think it's given them a little more elbow room than they had before. And part of their problem, they had a lot of old equipment at the other place.
Yeah.
And I know the Air Force Base, at least the working people in the base, the biggest challenge for the Air Force Base has always been is that they've got 45-minute breaks or an hour break. Yeah. Losing that 10 or 15 minutes to get downtown or get somewhere else, you just don't happen. It's the main reason we don't see them downtown.
Yeah.
So it's usually Hank's Barbecue or nothing, or gas station food. And food trucks have tried to do stuff. Yeah. The current commander of the base is really, really trying to get like a food court thing going up there. Yeah. But they've found a need. CJ's Pizza, just like the Italian place, is like, oh, what could we use that's not Mexican or chicken strips? I know that everybody complains about that, but it's a apparently huge demographic is Mexican food and chicken strips. Yeah. If anybody wanted to start a El Pollo Loco, which is Mexican chicken strips, we could do that. I believe, is that the name of the place from Breaking Bad?
I haven't seen it.
I'll have to look. It was a big TV show.
Although, speaking of those, I did go to CJ's a couple weeks ago. They're still just as good. Place is clean. It looks like they don't have all the old decor moved in yet, like all the patches across the walls, but it looks like they're working on it. Very polite. Well done, good food. And I know I can't think of the name, but right by United Deli, just to the west, there is a place that has said, Mexican restaurant coming soon for about 5 months now. And I've actually no work on it. I don't know about it.
Yeah, I think they're trying to do it on their own on the side. I forget the name of it. I've driven by it too because United Deli is part of my pilgrimage.
Yeah.
And then, I think they've been kind of piecemealing it together, and we've got La Campagna. Is that the one here? Mm-hmm. Right downtown on Catfish Alley, and then we've got a few Mexican places, but that's part of any area. Now, part of that was when the Lumen Dynamics mill was built. We had a large influx of Guatemalan, Mexican, Central American talent coming to build the place. Most of the Lumen Dynamics plant is finished out now, so lost a decent population of that. Part of the population, I'm sure, left because of the ice raids and stuff. But some of the people that came in at the restaurant that's right at the 8245 interchange there, and now we've got as you would probably expect if you thought about it, we've got an influx of sheetrock and paint crews and some workers and stuff. In town of people that stayed, who came and worked for the giant international construction company that built Aluminum Dynamics. So, love it or hate it, that part is what fueled the growth in the Mexican sector. Is that a sector?
Yeah,
sector, Mexican sector.
Sure.
Upside down question mark. And of course, people forget, but again, timing with COVID and stuff, that Soy Luna, which is the people from Mi Hacienda, opened that. And it's one of those restaurants that isn't as top of mind with everybody, but that stays busy because the hotels are there.
Yeah. And also, it is good. I went there when it first opened, it was like a ribeye with shrimp and like the white cheese on it. It was really good. And speaking of which, also, I'm very sorry, I can't think of the name right now. I'll put it in the subtitles. The Mexican restaurant that took over Farmstead restaurant down there is moving to the main drag to fill in where, because there's been a place that used to be La Fiesta or some other Mexican restaurant that's been closed for years. They're taking over that building.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. So, a little further down 182.
Right, near the eye doctors.
So you can watch this through the magic of video and podcasting. Of course, the name of that restaurant is
La Frontera Mexican Grill.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes, right. Exactly.
See, there you go. So we'll just fill that right in there. It won't sound funny, and we won't point out the edit whatsoever.
There's no edit in there at all.
So where do you get most of your information? I know I send you stuff to go to, but is it mostly from the Chamber and the Starkville Development Partnership, or sometimes people are sending us messages?
A lot of it stuff is directly from the meetings, like Business After Hours and Business Over Breakfast, with both the Columbus Chamber and with the Starkville Chamber, Starkville Strong. Past few months, I've been going to the Tourism and Visitors Bureau meetings. A lot of them have monthly events, and for anyone interested, whether you're interested in business or not, or just want to talk with people, see what's going on, these are free events. They have food, they have door prizes. It's a bunch of different places. Just monitor their pages to see when the next events are coming up.
Yeah, I can tell you the Columbus Chamber of Commerce does a phenomenal job. They're Carrie Martin and them are over 500 members. They've really had quite a rebirth at 3 in a row. Lisa James was an Air Force wife, which I don't want to put that in air quotes, but like she was a go-getter and she had help there. And like they have just over the last 5 years gone absolutely insane. Barbara Bigelow and Main Street Columbus have gone insane and are doing great. Starkville Development Partnership, which has Columbus has 3 different groups: Visit Columbus, Main Street, and the Chamber of Commerce. And then there's the Link, which is the Economic Development Group, which is big stuff for all 3 counties. And then West Point has, West Point Life is what I call them, but they have their own West Point Chamber. And Starkville has like literally 4 different groups, but they're under one umbrella. So you get one email. So if you're going to join something, you join the Starkville Development Partnership. But you mentioned Starkville Strong. So like we have New Hope Strong, which is Tony Hanna, a bunch of people out here that have developed things at Lake Lounge, Lakeside Treasures. They just had their Christmas tree lighting. They've helped the parks there. They just do a lot of good in New Hope. But Starkville Strong, the Harringtons that started that, are unbelievable. I remember when they started, like around COVID, Jimmy Red, a friend of mine, piano player, doctor, musician, and health insurance guy, and he runs a pretty big termite company now too. They took it over from him right after it started, and during COVID, just exploded. And as far as a functional charity, like they do some actual good. So they don't just give food to somebody; they, follow up with them, try to get them support services. And they've been hit as hard as anybody on like the grant front the last 18 months or so, with the federal government cutting back some grants. But man, they are a functional, just amazing group. And we get, they sometimes have events and we get stuff from them too, where we find out about things. But and I tell people this about the podcast, about my thing on WCBI and Good for Business, the Facebook, our deal. Man, if people just call us, we'll go. Like they just need to message us on Facebook and say like, hey, because if you're willing to stand up for yourself and your business, you deserve some coverage. We can't write a story every week about the same people, but most people don't ask. We have a lot of people like, hey, you haven't been here. I'm like, well, you got to say something.
We'll be glad to. Like I said, I can even with my, my bag, I can, anything within an hour of Columbus, including like Vernon, Alabama. I will come out. I will set up a time, and like you can be like, well, when you're ready, and I'm like, well, you're free tomorrow, and I'll come out there and do what.
So he'll come out. I'll come out if I can. I've got 3 teenage daughters, a wife, full-time business, and the podcast and TV show, which Eric's helping with. Eric helps a lot with the podcast. So it will come out. And I love when people are willing to brag on themselves, or at least want some help. Yeah. Because sometimes they just need a little boost, and we never really know which ones are going to go viral. We've had some amazing stories or breaking news, and nobody cares. And then one time we posted the cookout was coming to town, which I thought everybody knew, and it went and it had like 1,000 shares and a whole bunch of likes and stuff. So you really never know what's going to be the most popular.
Well, people got to get that cheer wine that they serve.
I didn't know they had that. I don't go there.
Yeah, it's at from North Carolina soda. It's kind of like Dr. Pepper adjacent.
I'm aware of what it is because our mother lived in North Carolina before she moved down here. So I am somewhat aware of what that's going on. What other things you do in the community other than D&D? You do some singing sometimes?
Yes, I've been singing since I was 10, 12 years old in church choirs, things like that. In high school, Colin and I both went to Jesuits in New Orleans, where I was part of the choir the whole time. And I was apparently known as the bass you can hear from the back of the cathedral without a microphone. I was good at projecting, and
I did pull your microphone away from you earlier because of that very factor.
Yes, all good. And I'm currently working with our choir director at my current church, which is First Presbyterian, and I've been there ever since I moved up here. And Doug is our current director, and I've been working with him. He's trying to give me some basic vocal lessons, try and get my voice back to where it was when I was younger. I'm planning to do something with him this week to work on a solo. And I've just been part of that choir. Our choir there is fantastic. If you ever just want to hear some good music, come up for our services 11 on Sundays. No obligation, no anything. Just come and listen and, enjoy.
Well, I have recently been learning how to sing, Run for the Hills. But I spent a lot of time last year trying to, all husbands, make sure you turn down the volume on the podcast and get your wife out of the room. For my wife's and I's 20th anniversary, Ben Folds was a big singer, piano player, and he sang a certain song that we love. So I wanted to take her to see Ben Folds record that album live with the National Symphony Orchestra. He was the director of it then.
Nice.
So it was a great time. So we get to go see that. And I took her to Jamaica. And then also, secretly, for the 6 months before our anniversary, I learned how to play piano and sing that one song to her. So top that. Also, angered many husbands in the room that night and around the world. But I was with the Golden Triangle Theater, and a couple of my teachers got tricked into doing Oklahoma the musical, and I've done a couple other ones. Right now, I'm studying to be grew the beard, and now it's stuck. Now I'm going to be Edna Turnblad in Hairspray this March. But they asked me, they're like, you're hanging in there. You're a quick learner on the singing, but you're very critical. And I said, well, my dad was an American class tenor. And I said, it goes back to the line of, you hear a lot of, it's the same answer either way. When I said, if somebody said ours wasn't, but you're like, my dad was a horrible abusive drunk, and that's why I'm a horrible abusive drunk. Or my dad's a horrible abusive drunk, that's why I don't drink. I said, that's what happened. My dad was an incredible singer and was very critical of people who weren't singing good, so my brother became an incredible singer, and I shut the H up because I was afraid of not living up to that. And now I feel more comfortable with it because it was ubiquitous in our household to listening to me playing industrial metal music and then turning it off and the opera being on next. So
and like we had the like bookshelves were first full of vinyl, and growing up I was listening to, we had Queen, we had ABBA, we had Beethoven, we had opera. And we had Enya. I mean, and one of the things that I really, really loved later on, back then, we had a vinyl of the original Broadway cast recording of Man of La Mancha of Richard Kiley from like the 1950s. And I learned the songs from that record,
Yeah, we had a very varied musical experience growing up. Because I was going to a lot of New Orleans music concerts and stuff, and also a lot of like heavy metal industrial stuff.
And working at the radio station.
Yeah. Think about that.
So you learned when to call. That was great.
Several careers of varying degrees of success.
Yeah.
That's what makes a modern man there. So,
yes.
So if people want to reach out to you to talk to you about, hey, Eric, maybe I want to get on the podcast with you or me, or if you want us mainly to cover your restaurant. I say restaurant, probably more of the stuff we do.
It's
about
business.
Half restaurant or any half small, but it can be medium and big business.
Yeah.
If anything's good for the Golden Triangle, we're here for it. Like we make it to, right now it's probably 60, 2/3 Columbus, 20% Starkville, and then a little bit of West Point. West Point's got stuff going on. It's just the hardest of the three in our cycle to get to.
Yeah, like one of my favorite ones from West Point, there was a lady you sent me there to pick up a window or something you had bought, and she worked at Tin Lizzie Cafe. So because of her, I went and tried that place out, did a story on them.
Have we done anything on the little Vietnamese bakery donut shop there?
I did a brief one a while back, but I've never really sat down for it.
I don't want to twist your arm and make you go to the Vietnamese donut shop on 45 in West Point.
Yeah.
This is going to be a tough one to talk you into.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll have to twist
my
arm.
Please, Eric. Just please go to the donut shop in West Point. So you see how this is fairly easy.
Yeah.
And again, like there's, the Chamber of Commerce in Columbus. If you're going to spend a couple $100, Good for Business is a member of that. Colin Krieger is a member of that. Colin Krieger Remax is a member of that. I always say, like, if you're in Lowndes County, it's the way to go. If you're in Starkville Greater Development Partnership, West Point, which the West Point Clay County Alliance, Growth Alliance.
Yeah.
On Facebook, it's West Point Life. And they all do a good job. The chamber here does a phenomenal job, especially considering Barber and Main Street do a lot of heavy lifting downtown.
Yeah.
So, and we got a lot of cool stuff going on downtown. I'm the realtor for the Burns Bottom. I call it the Burns Bottom Development. But two of the owners of Burns Development got together with Saunders Ramsey, and it's called Parkview. And we've sold quite a few lots. I got a couple questions coming in. That could be anywhere from a $20 to a $50 million development when the dust settles, and we're kind of ahead of schedule and stuff. They're rocking and rolling. Got the Italian restaurant coming. Steel Dynamics is about to open up their biocarbon plant. I think the ribbon cutting is coming up in a couple weeks. Aluminum Dynamics, which ended up being a $2.4 billion operation, had their first. Klockner Metals is the first on their campus. They're going to have a 1,100-acre campus. So they eventually have 20 or 30 little businesses out there. Little. $100 million.
Comparatively little.
$100 million businesses. So when people fret on the unfortunate thing that we're never going to have a Sam's Club, unless Mississippi State really blows up in the SEC landscape, which I don't think it will. So, we're not going to have that income-wise. Starkville or Columbus is not going to have Red Lobster. But I always tell people, under Sam's Club, we've got a lot of choices, especially as long as they finish that highway going to Tuscaloosa, it gets quicker and quicker to go there. Plus, you get things shipped here. And again, our AI overlords will provide drones for each and every one of us that will provide goods to our front door. We do encourage people to recreate places at the local. So I have to pause all the time when I'm ordering something on Amazon, and I'll send it to Keaton or Robert at Military Hardware or somewhere else if I can wait for it. And even using local places as opposed to going to Lowe's, you can go to Military Hardware, New Hope Building, Cash and Carry, Discount Building, Nesco, Nolan Plumbing. That's just in Columbus, the same 8 places over in Starkville. Discount Building over in Starkville. But where you can recreate it locally is if you're driving around, just do that. Most of the crud that you're ordering, you can order through somebody else here. The best example of this, my kids are very disciplined about it, is Emily over at Friendly City Books.
Oh, yeah.
Because she moved locations awesome. And it's going to take you 4 days. We've never asked for a book that she didn't get within a week. And Amazon, which is ironic because I'm pretty sure I could order a piano from Amazon and get it here set in 3 days. But with books, there's a little bit of a slowdown on books, which is what they originally were there to do. But all we got to do is send a screenshot to Emily of the UPC code of the book, and they order it. And my kids love it, getting it from her as opposed to getting it from especially nice hardcover books and things.
Yeah.
And again, those are the people supporting our community. She sponsored Thacker Mountain Radio. She sponsored events at the Arts Council. Last time I checked, I haven't seen an Amazon soccer team or a eBay soccer team here in town. So keep that in mind. So if they need to reach you, where do we find you?
Best way they can reach us through our page, Good for Business with Eric and Colin Krieger. If it's something that's on a time limit, or if you just will get me more quickly, you can message me directly on Facebook, Eric H. Krieger. I'm not hard to find. That's probably basically the best way to get me, or that kind of thing. Or contact Colin and he can put you in touch with me.
Yep, pretty easy. And what is our actual website? Do you know?
We have Good for Business. I think it's Good for Business MS.
Yes, there you go. So I know we spent a lot of time getting that. And ColinKrieger.com or 329sold.com. All of those places will eventually get you to one of the Krieger brothers. And if you have hamburgers, we're going to show up. Okay. And we're proudly glad to pay you for this hamburger next Tuesday. What's the quote from Wimpy from Popeyes?
I'll gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. Something else I wanted to talk about is that I used to work at GameStop in New Orleans, which is one of the biggest stores in the region, and one of the best-selling ones everywhere for certain titles, such as Madden. Was there for a long time as kind of a sub-manager type of thing, and I was there for Katrina. What happened then was we had been gradually building up business, doing really well, had a lot of long-term employees, and GameStop finally saw fit to give us a brand new point-of-sale system, new shelving and everything, totally remodeled the store and replaced our old dial-up internet in 2005 with fiber or something similar. And then 3 weeks later, Katrina hit, so imagine that was a lot of fun. And I ended up, I totally destroyed the store in Lakeside Mall, along with half the stores in the area. And I happened to be the first person back of the ones there. So their corporate guy had me escorting someone around to the infamous Oakwood Mall and other places to assess the condition of the stores. But more importantly, one thing that might be a lot more relevant to most of you, many of your parents, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters, whatever, might have kids or other people asking you for a video game for Christmas. And I just want to let you know that there two things. If you're still in a town that has a GameStop, ask them there. Most of the folks there really do want to help you, and they do not want a little 8-year-old getting a game called Grand Theft Auto. That's something we have to deal with often. But what you do is every single game that is on store shelves has a rating number on it similar to what movie theaters use. The one used for games is called the ESRB, or Entertainment Software Ratings Board. At esrb.org has all of the details for any game you can think of. And just look on it. A game with an E is rated for everyone. That's essentially G-rated. T for teen means PG. You might see a different T rating. Maybe it's PG-13. And then M for mature is R-rated. And that should give you a general idea. It'll say on the front 1 or 2 things about what could be considered objectionable about it. Back of the box has more details. And then the website will have a full-on review of everything that's going on with it. And I mentioned my contact information earlier. You can just message me directly for questions about a game, and if I don't know whether it's appropriate for someone of a certain age, I will look it up and let you know as soon as I can. But esrb.org is the best place for that. And the people were there because you will sometimes have little kids trying to get games they really shouldn't be playing. And the people at a specialty store like GameStop is the best place to go to just ask them, is this appropriate for the kid? Because my kid says it is, but ask the experts. All right. Thank you much, and y'all take care.
Hey guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. My name is Colin Krieger, and my day job is real estate. If you're looking to buy or sell, I'd love to talk to you. Or if you just want to sit and talk real estate in a no pressure situation, I'd love to help you. I work with RE/MAX Partners in Starkville, Columbus, and West Point, Mississippi. I can help you find an agent anywhere in Mississippi or anywhere in the country. Just reach out to our office at 662-327-7705 or find me anywhere when you type in 662-329-SOLD.